The winter night lay heavy across the open prairie, the kind of cold that seeped into bone and memory. Rancher Cole Maddox dragged the barn door shut against the biting wind, thinking only about a fire, a cup of strong coffee, and the loneliness that had lived with him since his wife died 3 winters ago. But the cattle were restless tonight, shifting and murmuring as if spooked by something invisible. Cole paused, listening. At first there was only the wind, but then a faint, broken sound carried across the frozen fields, a note of pain swallowed by the darkness. Every instinct in him tensed. He grabbed his lantern, mounted his horse, and rode toward the cottonwood grove, where the sound seemed to come from. The moon barely lit the world around him, but when he reached the trees, the lantern revealed something that stopped his breath cold. A body hung from a thick branch, swaying gently, casting a long shadow on the snow. Cole jumped from his horse and ran, heart pounding. As he got closer, details sharpened. A young woman, incredibly tall, her wrists bound above her head, her dark hair falling like a shroud over her shoulders. Someone had tried to hang her and left her for dead. Cole's hands shook as he placed the lantern down and cut the rope with his knife. The moment the rope snapped, her weight collapsed into his arms, and he staggered under her surprising strength. She was nearly 6'3", her muscles firm even in unconsciousness, yet her face held a softness that made the sight even more heartbreaking. He checked her pulse, weak but there. Without wasting another second, he lifted her onto his horse, climbed behind her, and rode back through the howling wind. Inside his cabin, he wrapped her in blankets, rubbing her cold hands, urging life back into her. Hours passed in tense silence before she finally opened her eyes. Dark, fierce, but full of fear. She tried to rise, panic flashing across her face, but she collapsed back into the blankets. Cole raised his hands in reassurance. "Easy," he whispered. "You're safe here. My name's Cole." Her throat worked as she forced out a single word. "Nala." And then, with a choked breath, she added, "They hunted me," before slipping into unconsciousness again. Cole sat beside her long into the night, realizing that nothing about tomorrow would be ordinary, and his life had already changed forever. Morning crept slowly into the valley, painting the snow in pale gold as Cole stirred the fire back to life. Nala lay wrapped in blankets on the cot, her breath shallow but steady, her eyes half open as though fighting a battle inside her mind. When she finally turned her head toward him, Cole saw the strength behind her. Exhaustion, strength, born from surviving what no one should have to face. He handed her a warm bowl of broth, and she accepted it with trembling hands, sipping slowly while staring into the flames as if they held memories only she could see. When she finally spoke, her voice was low and rough. "My tribe, scattered in the night. Hunters came, men from the towns who chase us for coin." She swallowed hard, gripping the bowl tighter. "They call me giant, monster, because I'm tall, because I fight." She lifted her eyes to meet his. "I fought them. I hurt some. They caught me anyway. They tied me, hung me, left me for the snow to finish." Cole clenched his jaw, rage rising like a tide. He had heard stories of men who hunted Apache women, especially the tall, strong ones, trophies in their cruel minds. He thought of Nala swinging in the icy wind, alone, helpless. It twisted something deep inside him. "No one's hurting you again," he said firmly. "Not while you're under my roof." But Nala shook her head slowly, fear returning to her eyes. "This is not only about them. When an Apache goes missing, our people look for them. They will come. They will track. If they find me here," her voice thinned, "they might think you did this." Cole exhaled, running a hand through his hair. He knew she wasn't wrong. The Apaches had every reason to mistrust men like him, white ranchers occupying land that once belonged to them. "Then I'll explain," he said. "I'll show them the rope. I'll show them the grove. I'll tell them I saved you. You think they will listen?" Nala asked quietly. "You are alone." "They are many." He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the window and looked toward the distant ridges, where smoke signals began rising into the cold sky, sharp, deliberate, unmistakable. Nala followed his gaze, her voice trembling. "They are calling for me. And somewhere in those ridges, unseen and silent, Someone was already watching the ranch, judging, waiting, deciding whether Cole was friend or enemy. The world outside had begun to shift, and Cole felt it in his bones. Danger was moving closer. The sun had barely risen when the stillness of the ranch shattered beneath the thunder of hooves. Cole stepped outside, rifle in hand, not raised but steady, as 6 Apache riders emerged over the ridge like shadows cut from the morning frost. Their horses were painted for travel, their faces marked with cold season patterns, and their eyes burned with purpose. At their front rode Chief Tahoma, a towering presence with braids, wrapped in leather, and a gaze sharp enough to split stone. His expression hardened the moment he saw Nala standing beside Cole on the porch, wrapped in blankets but standing tall despite her wounds. "Nala," the chief called, his voice carrying the weight of mountains. "Who did this to you?" Nala stepped forward on unsteady legs, her breath misting in the air. "White hunters," she said. "Not him. He saved me." She nodded toward Cole, her meaning clear, her loyalty unwavering. But Tahoma's eyes did not leave the rancher. He studied Cole the way a wolf studies a stranger threatening its den, measuring intent, strength, and truth in a single glance. The other riders shifted, murmuring low in their language, unsure whether to prepare for gratitude or war. Cole felt the tension coil between them like a stretched rope ready to snap, but he didn't flinch. He held the chief's stare with steady calm. "I found her hanging from a tree north of the grove," Cole said. "Cut her down myself. If I hadn't, she would have died." The chief's jaw tightened as he inspected the raw rope burns on Nala's neck, the bruises on her wrists, the fatigue in her eyes. Rage flickered behind his calm exterior, but it wasn't aimed at Cole. It was aimed at the men who hunted her. "They pursued her because she is strong," Tahoma finally said, "because they fear what they do not understand. But she is ours, and you have stepped into danger for saving her." Cole lowered his rifle slowly. "Danger doesn't matter," he said. "Doing what's right does." A ripple of surprise passed through the Apache riders. Tahoma narrowed his eyes, reassessing this lone rancher who spoke with a courage many lacked. Then he gave a slow, deliberate nod. "You have a brave heart," he said quietly, "and Nala trusts you. For that, we will listen." But the moment of calm vanished when Tahoma added, voice grim, "The men who tried to kill her are tracking her. They follow blood, snow, footprints, and they follow yours as well." Cole felt the breath leave him. The chief wasn't warning him out of threat, but out of respect. "They will be here," the chief said, pointing toward the distant valley. "Tonight." Night settled over the valley like a heavy blanket, muffling every sound beneath layers of snow and darkness. Cole moved through the cabin with deliberate calm, checking the rifle, shuttering the windows, dimming the lanterns until the ranch house blended with the night. Outside, the Apache warriors took their positions in silence, melting into the trees like shadows with beating hearts. Chief Tahoma stood among them, eyes fixed on the far ridge, reading the darkness the way others read tracks in sand. Beside Cole, inside the cabin, Nala stood tall despite her injuries, her breath deep and steady. She tied her hair back, picked up a bow from the chief's warriors, and nodded once, ready. The hours crawled. The wind whispered through the cottonwoods. Snowflakes drifted lazily, making the world quiet and deceptive. But buried beneath that stillness, Cole felt a tension, building, a sense that danger moved closer with each passing minute. Then, faint but unmistakable, came the crunch of boots in snow, slow, methodical, predatory. Nala stiffened. "Them," she whispered. Lantern light flickered between the trees as the hunters crept toward the ranch house. There were 4 of them, ruthless men with rifles slung over their shoulders, the same men who had tied Nala to a branch and left her to freeze. Their voices carried through the cold night. "She's here," one murmured. Tracks led straight to this door. "Well," another sneered, "that rancher's about to learn she ain't his to save." Cole stepped onto the porch before they could get closer. Rifle held but pointed downward, not provoking but ready. "You boys are trespassing," he said, voice calm and firm. The tallest hunter smirked. "We're here for the Apache woman." "Step aside, Maddox." Cole shook his head. "She's under my protection." That was all they needed to hear. A hunter lifted his gun, but before he could fire, Nala stepped into the doorway beside Cole, towering, fierce, alive. The shock on the men's faces was instant and satisfying. "You left me for dead," she said, her voice like thunder breaking through cold air. "Now face me alive." The moment froze in time. Then everything erupted. Tahoma's warriors surged from the trees, surrounding the hunters in a ring of steel and determination. One hunter fired blindly, the bullet hitting the snow as Apache arrows pinned his rifle to the ground. Cole shot once, only a warning blast that sent the last hunter sprawling in fear. Surrounded, outmatched, and overwhelmed, the hunters dropped their weapons and raised trembling hands. By dawn, the threat was gone, disarmed, captured, and later turned over to the nearest fort for justice. As the first rays of morning lit the ranch, Chief Tahoma approached Cole, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "You saved her twice," he said. "And tonight you fought beside us as a brother." Nala looked at Cole with quiet warmth. "You gave me life when the world tried to take it. I will not forget."